Today, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the Tier 7 premium American battleship USS Constellation, which is really more of a battle cruiser than a battleship. The last battleship I covered on this channel was, of course, the Tier 8 Lepanto earlier this week, and that particular battleship is well suited to pushing in fairly aggressively and tanking a whole lot of damage with its excellent armor. The Constellation is sort of the polar opposite. It is in no way a tank. It is a battle cruiser rather than a battleship, and as such, its armor scheme is nowhere near as robust or good as a lot of the other battleships at this tier, or even a tier below, or even a tier above. It's sort of a glass cannon. It's got 27mm bow and stern plating, and the side armor is 32. You can, of course, angle 32 against anything other than the Musashi, and there are none of those in this game, but 15-inch guns, 16-inch guns will easily penetrate 32 millimeters of armor if you're not giving enough angle, and there are so many flat and shell-catching surfaces on the ship that sometimes it doesn't really seem to matter that the armor is not overmatchable by those large caliber guns. And of course, that's to say nothing about the bow and stern, which anything with 16-inch guns will simply pen right through. So there is a cardinal value that I think you need to practice in battleships like this, squishy ones, and that is disengaging. You don't want to push straight in and not have a way out, because if you do, and you're facing more than, say one ship, you're going to get melted pretty quickly, and that's going to become evident to you in this first sequence here. You might not think that what we're doing is pushing out too far, but we really are. We've got that Mogami shooting at us. We've got at least one other cruiser shooting at us, maybe some secondaries from somebody too, or that's the USS Black, the destroyer, and then we've got the other Constellation threatening to peek out, so we can't continue to push forward. If we do, we'll simply get melted. We need to start kiting away, and this is something that I think more battleship players need to engage in. There's a certain ebb and flow to this game, as I've talked about before. You don't want to push into superior ship numbers, especially in something that doesn't have armor. Maybe you can get away with it in more heavily armored things like the Russians or the Italians, but not in the Constellation. Speaking of which, you can see just how exposed the Constellation Citadel is by the shot we take against that guy. He's trying to bow tank us, which is something that will not work in this ship against anything with 16-inch guns, and the Constellation has those. If you try to bow tank, the shells are just going to go right through, and apparently they can hit your Citadel quite easily right through the bow. So what you need to do is present an angle, as we're doing to this Constellation. You see when he shoots at us, well, he's actually given up shooting at us because his first shot, it did hit our side armor. It might have penetrated up into our superstructure or something like that for a little bit of chip damage, but ultimately it wasn't catastrophic like the Citadel that we sent through his bow. So that's the idea. You want those things to shoot the side armor while you're angled and kiting away, and you don't want to present your bow to anything that can overmatch it, because that's just a recipe for disaster. Plus, you can see this guy, he's not really facing as much opposition as we were. He doesn't have a cruiser shooting at him and trying to farm him at the same time, and what he's done is he's pushed out and he's reversed back in. It was very easy to hit his bow because of his rather stationary position. Meanwhile, contrast that with us, who were kiting away, and, well, it was harder for him to hit us, and he couldn't get our bow. He got our side armor. Kiting away is a practice that I see people engaging in cruisers all the time, and it works just as well and for the same reasons in battleships, and especially battle cruisers like this. By the way, if you've noticed, after that Constellation went behind the island, and before we shot at the Hipper, and even right now, we are spotted. We're not spotted by those planes either, because the detection icon is an eyeball. That means we're being surface spotted by something, so that has to be the enemy destroyer, the USS Black. It means he's come out here on this flank, and he's within our detectability. We get a nice shot there on the Hipper, by the way. That's something that this particular battle cruiser at least seems to excel with. The guns are accurate, and they are 15-inch guns, but I don't see them overpenning cruisers as often as some of the other American AP shells. I think you can chalk that up to the fact that the shells are pretty floaty, so the shell velocity is low, and I think that helps it not get overpens all the time on cruisers. But in any case, we dodged some DD torpedoes there, and we know the black is around. We've already used one of our charges of radar accidentally earlier in the game. I didn't actually mean to deploy it when I did, and don't ask me why or what I was trying to do, I don't remember, but we still have one charge left, and we're able to detect the USS Black, who's well within our radar range. So this sort of illustrates the value of having radar on the battleship. That's the battleship's primary weakness, of course. That's the way the entire class is balanced. It's got excellent firepower. It's got the ability to dev strike things all the way across the map. But in return, it has to rely on its teammates to spot for it. It's not really able to spot with its face because everything is going to have better detectability than it aside from other battleships. So you give it a radar and allow it to spot destroyers like that, it's extremely potent. I'm not going to say it's overpowered, of course, because this is not stealth radar or anything, but it's an extremely valuable thing to have on a battleship. Any other battleship aside from the Missouri would not have been able to spot that black in that situation and wouldn't have been able to drive him away. But now that we are out of radar consumable charges and we know where the black is, we don't want to push into him or into that flank. That's just going to make it much easier for him to torpedo us. Instead, we want to go elsewhere and see if we can take care of some other ships. Plus, our own destroyer is coming out to this flank. It looks like he's seen the last known location of the USS Black, and he's going to go hunt him, being a black himself. Meanwhile, we're going to go more toward the center of the map and see if we can't do our job against some of these cruisers or battleships, or even take out the CV. And there we are on fire again. We've got the Azerlane, New Jersey in front of us. I think he's the penultimate battleship in this battle, and he's gone down. You can see there, as we angle against his 16-inch guns, they're able to penetrate a little bit through the bow, a little bit through the upper superstructure, but the majority of the damage simply bounces off our armor and leaves us relatively okay. Although we only have 16,000 hit points left, this just illustrates to you how squishy this battleship is and why you might want to disengage from time to time before pushing back in. Mogami posted up behind the island. He probably thinks he's safe, but our shells are very floaty. They have clearance over that little rock, and they have no problem whatsoever finding the Mogami's citadel and dealing a crap ton of damage to him. We're up to 112,000 damage done now. There's a single battleship left. He's way outside on the outskirts of the map. We're not really going to be able to face him, so we're going to be able to face the cruisers instead, which is ideal. We can deal a ton of damage to them with our very accurate guns, and we just got Hipper and Mogami left. We're going to come around this corner, see if we can't get the finishing blow on the Mogami. The game seems to indicate, for whatever reason, we can't lob the shells over that rock, so instead we shoot at the Hipper, who decides to push in at the perfect moment for our shells to find him and deal 16,000 damage. No citadel, but he's well on his way back to port. One of our HE spamming cruiser friends is able to use his DPM to deal the rest of the damage to the Hipper. We're considering maybe shooting at him again and picking up the kill, but Mogami is accessible once more, so let's finish what we started with that guy a little earlier. In fact, I think this guy was the first one to get shots on us early in the battle and the first one to get a fire, so it feels nice to take him out as our second kill of the game. And we're up to 5 citadels now, nearly 140,000 damage done. That pretty much wraps things up for this particular battle, and all that's left is the Saipan and the Black versus 4 of us. They really don't have a snowball's chance in hell, to be fair, and at this point what we want to do is conduct some carrier hunting. The Saipan is basically a damage pinata that we can glean some extra XP from if we get to shoot at him, plus a little bit more damage. So I think this game illustrates the value of disengaging and moving your battleship around. That is something I advocate for pretty strongly in a lot of battleships. It doesn't really cover the bases on things like, well, actually it sort of does, even on things like the Lepanto or the Vladivostok, those heavily armored battleships. You generally just don't want to post up in one place. You want to maintain your maneuverability so that you can sail to parts of the map where you can access broadsides. And that's mostly what we've done in this game. We've sailed all around looking for all the broadsides. We've been able to get quite a few of them. And, we've been able to get some damage on battleships as well. Saipan is backed up against the map border, and it's just a matter of who can get the sinking blow. Will it be us, or will it be our cruiser brethren? And the answer is apparently not us. Well, actually, us. We get a Citadel, and the Saipan goes down. That's our third kill of the game, 153,000 damage done, and only the black is left. But his long-range torpedoes are heading right for this island, and so we're going to have to kick it hard into reverse, because I'm pretty sure if single one of these torpedoes hits us, it may very well be enough to remove our remaining HP. Forgive the poorly aimed shot here at the black. I think I could have easily taken him out for the fourth kill of the game, but I really flubbed that salvo. And is that torpedo gonna... No, very close. Scratches the paint. Wow. Almost instant death there. But the black is being taken out by our cruisers, and unfortunately, we're not going to get the last word. But we do finish the battle with a respectable 153,000 damage done, 3 kills, and because this is a premium, which is very lucrative these days at Tier 7, we earn nearly 1 million credits, 919,000. So honestly, Constellation is an excellent ship. I've been having a lot of fun with it, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.